Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this very special edition of the Expert Speaker Podcast. We are here with the one and only Brad Hart, live from San Diego, California, author of The 8-Minute Mastermind, How to Travel Anywhere for Free, Solve Any Problem, and add $100,000 to your business in 5 to 10 hours a month.
That's me. I'm that guy. Hi.
Welcome. And you and I, we share a lot of friends. We share a lot of passions, personal development. We both know the wealth dynamics spectrum. And what is your wealth dynamic profile?
I'm a supporter, of course.
You're a supporter. How nice. Well, thank you for supporting the Expert Speaker Podcast. I'm a star, and today's star is Brad Hart. Brad, tell us about the 8-Minute Mastermind. What does it mean? And what is the 8 minutes of art? Let's start there. Tell me about the 8 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm not huge into numerology and woo-woo energy work, but guess what? I live in San Diego. Even though I'm from New York, I have a little bit of woo in me. And the number 8 keeps showing up in my life. When I was 8 years old, I actually lost my Uncle Steve. And that was a really tragic occurrence for our family. He was really young, died of cancer, really sad. When I was 16, I lost my grandfather. I was 24, I lost my dad. I was 32, I lost one of my friends in a terrible, treacherous accident that was perpetrated by some locals up in India in this Pavarti Valley. Like, it was a whole international incident. Anyway, so like every 8 years, it seems like I lose somebody. 8 shows up in my life constantly. So I called it the 8-Minute Mastermind because I always use 8 minutes as the hot seat time for my masterminds. And sometimes it runs a little longer, sometimes a little shorter even. But you know, it's really just an homage to the 8s that keep showing up in my life. And I always pay attention to the 8s. So, and it's a catchy title, and I always love Tim Ferriss. He's got the 4-Hour Work Week. I got the 8-Minute Mastermind.
I think it's great. And so I'm doing the math on 8 minutes. So that means a group of people must be like 10 or less if you're doing 8-minute hot seats. How many people in a mastermind group?
Yeah, so we allow anybody to come. Not everybody gets a hot seat or wants a hot seat, but we have room for 10 hot seats. And if I keep it tight, I can usually get 10 to 15 in if I'm really like tight. It just depends on how much of a jerk I want to be that day.
And for the people new to the word mastermind, what is your definition of mastermind?
Yeah, so mastermind really simply is just a group of people, normally business owners, but it could be any area of life really. They come together to support each other, keep each other accountable, create clarity in that part of life, in a trusted environment, help you get leverage and help you really stay engaged with the thing as it goes on, you know? And I've seen people come to this mastermind that I run. Like I have a bunch of paid ones that I've done all over the world: Bali, China, Greece, Hong Kong, Italy, and all of the United States. But the free one that I run every week in my home here in Cardiff is really special to me because it's just to give back to the community. And it's something that I do for a lot of money normally as a professional, but I get to give that as my, just way to connect with people and build community. And we have now over 500 people who are mostly entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs. Some of them are big investors, some of them make tens of millions of dollars a year, but they all come to my home and share with each other what's working, what's not working, what they're grateful for, what they're celebrating, what their challenges are, what they want to move forward faster on. And we all support each other in getting clear on what that actually is and then how to move forward with it by connecting the resources, the opportunities, the people, and the systems, I call it crops, right, together in order to facilitate that.
What is the acronym CROPS?
CROPS is connecting resources, opportunities, systems, people and systems together.
Connecting resources, opportunities, people and systems. Got it. Okay, so my next question might be a brilliant question or a completely irrelevant question, but when they once a week, is it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Oh, it's actually in the evenings. We do it from 6 to 9. And if anybody's listening is in San Diego and they want to come check one out, they're always free. You just ask them to bring you some snacks and things like that. If you want to throw in $5-10 for snacks, that's great. And then we just get after it here in my living room. I try not to make them insanely big. I try to limit it to like 15 people. Maybe 20 would be like the high limit. But yeah, we do it around that time. It's a little easier for everybody to get to.
6 to 9, 3 hours.
Yeah. So 2 hours of masterminding and 1 hour of networking.
Fantastic. Evenings in San Diego once a week with Brad Hart. Okay, so how do I add $100,000 to my business with a mastermind?
Yeah, so the math actually works out really simply. So if you have 10 clients paying you $1,000 a month, that's $120K a year. Simple, right? You don't need 100, you don't need 1,000, you don't need to build a big course. You don't have to launch a giant book tour and all this other stuff. And all those things are great. I've done all those things in my business multiple times, but I love masterminds because it's like the intimacy of coaching and consulting with the leverage of having groups, and you could still have it be high ticket. So it's higher impact, higher income, less time. So my goal for the people that work with me in my Build a Mastermind program, which is a separate thing from this book, but it kind of leads into that, is to get them up and running with a mastermind in 6 months or less, usually within a month or two, with a mastermind that can easily add that to the bottom line in their business.
How do people find out more about your Build a Mastermind program?
So we have a challenge that people can check out. It's at buildamastermind.com/challenge. If you want to get a free copy of the book, you can go to buildamastermind.com/book and learn about kind of my ethos, my story, give you some value for cheap or free rather. And it's also on Amazon.com. You can go and grab it there. But the mastermind program itself is really for entrepreneurs that are at least doing, I would say, 100K in their business already. And then we want to double the size of that and make their business a little bit better. So it's really great for coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, executives, and speakers to some extent, folks that really have an audience already, and they're just looking for a more high leverage way of working with that audience. So it's really not for people who are just kind of starting out, figuring out what they're going to do, figuring out what their niche is. Although I have worked with people like that, it's just a little bit more of a long haul and a little more frustrating. So I'll just share a couple of stories of people that have gone through the program to kind of ground it for people. So like we have people like Chris, who's just really hungry, but he didn't know anything about business. He was a cop in New Zealand. He had done the job for 7 years, and he had this incident where he had PTSD and had to wash out. So he still wanted to help cops. He became a personal trainer, but he hated doing the gym and not having leverage in his life. He's like, I don't care what I have to do. I want to start Mastermind. He met me at Date with Destiny. He was all in. So we got him in the program. He didn't know anything about marketing or sales. Now, a year later, he's got a whole Facebook ad campaign and Instagram and a funnel. He's got over 100 clients enrolled already. He's getting 22 to 1 on his freaking Insta spend, which is amazing. And he's got a team now that helps him set calls and do sales. And we taught everything from the ground up. So that's like a year long working with him, but we got him really far. And then there's opportunities like people like Jasmine, who already ran 2 masterminds.
Before you go on to Jasmine,
sure.
Question about Chris, former cop from New Zealand, 100 clients. Is he charging $1,000 a month for 100
No,
clients?
he doesn't charge that much because his niche is a little bit different. He's got more of a, and again, it's a little bit different for everybody. I was just basing on my results, right? I'm able to charge that pretty routinely and easily. I've charged up to $2,500 a month. There's people that charge $3 million, they have $3 million a year coming in from masterminds because they charge 30 grand.
What do you think is the lowest number to make sense?
I wouldn't try to price your mastermind under $500 a month. I don't think it would be valued at that rate if it was less. Unless you have some other back end plan to like enroll them into a bigger program and you just want the right people in the room. But yeah, pricing is important because you don't want to price it too low because people want it to be the right people want it to be reassuringly expensive.
Reassuringly expensive. Those are good words. And now what do you say to the person who says, well, come on, Brad, I don't know anybody who can spend $1,000 a month. Heck, I've never spent $1,000 a month. What do I do?
So you're at the different stage in your business. You want to read the book and start a free mastermind, start getting really good at delivering value to people and connecting people and doing the things I say in the book. And that's the way you start. You get the value piece down and you start to work on the marketing and sales. And we've got training for that. And then when you have those 3 pieces in, that's all you should be focused on until you're at 100 grand a year.
Value, marketing, and sales.
Yeah. How to deliver value, how to market, how to sell. If you're not doing those 3 things at 80% of your time, you're wasting your time.
The people who are doing other things that are not those examples of what people are doing, that's probably not a good use of time at that early stage.
Yeah, like really your job as an entrepreneur making less than $100,000 a year is to get really good at marketing, selling, and delivering value. That's it. If you're doing anything else, you're literally wasting your time at that stage.
Got it. Okay, now tell me about Jasmine.
Okay, so Jasmine, she was more of an intermediate case. She came in, she's already running 2 masterminds, but she was working like 80 hours a week and had, very little cash coming. Like at the end of the day, she was not making enough money. In 3 months, we were able to bring her work hours down to 30 hours a week and raise her prices. So she was making 3 times the money. So that was really awesome. And then I have an advanced example. My buddy, AJ Mirzad, who runs onlinesupercoach.com. Some of you folks might know about AJ. AJ, he was already at a stage in his business where he's making plenty of money. He lives in the 10-bedroom house and drives the Bentley and all that, trapping of success type of stuff. but he really wanted more fulfillment in his life. He wanted to transform people. He wanted to build relationships with people. So it made a lot of sense for him to come on and ask me, because he didn't want to figure it out from scratch. Like, hey, Brad, how do I start a mastermind? I really want to do this, and I don't want to figure it out from scratch. So we got him in the first month, we got an extra 15 clients, and he kind of did it through his events. He's definitely an example of somebody who can charge whatever he wants because he has that track record. So it's not about so much, day one getting to $1,000 a month or any number. It's about how much value can you add. And at the stage in your business you're at, you can add a lot of value. Like the first mastermind I joined was $1,000 a month, and it had 100 members. And then we ended up growing it, working with the author who started it, to $4.5 million a year with 1,700 members around the world with 3 different tiers. And we had cohorts in every city, every major city. It was really cool. So you can start with a very small free mastermind and grow your skill set, learn the chops of sales and marketing, get a little bit of money coming in, understand who your client is, what value you deliver, and then upgrade to a paid mastermind and get that rolling. And pretty soon you can have multiple things going on where you're making millions.
I like the sounds of that. Cool. Let's go back to Jasmine for a second. You helped her increase her price. I work with a lot of clients, and myself included. When it comes to increasing price, we have all sorts of fears like, well, what if nobody buys at that price? And what if I, could have made the sale at the lower price, but I couldn't have made the sale at the higher price? What do you find are the typical changes or shifts or mindsets or, what does it take really to raise your price?
And you're right. It's really about scarcity versus abundance, right? Because the person who is right for that offer, provided the value's there, let's just presume the value's there, is going to be put off by a low price point. When things are too cheap, you're putting off the people that you actually want to work with. The high-end clients that aren't expecting you to solve everything, and oh my God, this has to work, and I can't invest this type of money, and oh my God, it's, if it doesn't work out, I'm screwed, I can't pay my rent this month. That's not who you want. That's just breeding more scarcity. But if you're vibrating at that level and you're attracting at that level, that's what's going to keep showing up until you make the decision, which means to cut off from another path. You make the decision to say, hey, I'm worth it. I add this type of value. Here's the value I've added in the past. And, starting free mastermind is a great way to show like how much value you can actually add, because the stakes are low, but you can go big and really get after it and see what it takes to actually add a lot of value. Like I know I can add millions of dollars of value to a business. I have no question. And my rates reflect that. You're not going to work with me for less than a $5,000 investment at the minimum. Unless it's like I'm grabbing a little course or a challenge or something.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah.
And that's going to be a group program. I'm not even talking about consulting and coaching and stuff I do on the high end. So when you think about price versus value, it's really a mindset. It's like, what do you be able to add? And I always do the 10X rule. I think I talk about this in the book, but the 10X rule is really simple. What's the amount of value you could add? Let's say I can add $1 million of value in your business. I should be charging $100,000. It doesn't have to be all at once. Maybe it's over a year or 2 years or whatever the contract length is. But if I know I can add $1 million in value, I got to be charging $100,000. If I know I can add $10,000 in value, I got to charge $1,000. If I know I can add $50,000 in value without breaking a sweat, and people are going to be super happy, then I'm going to charge $5,000. And if you're not, following that 10X rule, you're going to find it really difficult. And the only metric you have control over is not price. It's the value you add. That's the only consistent thing that you have control over. So when the market determines the value, it's partly you owning your worth and what you can do. It's partly finding the right people, because anywhere on a demand curve, and this is an economics term, so I'm just going to be a little bit esoteric here for a second, but there's one person that'll pay $1 million for something way up here, right? And it might be the same product, the same service generally, right? There's 1 million people that'll pay $1 for something, but neither is a sustainable business model, because it'll, like if you went on a safari out to Africa and you're cruising along and you see a zebra and you've never seen a zebra before, you're super happy. You're like, oh my God, it's a zebra. And I had this happen to me. And then in the next 10 minutes, you see 10,000 zebras. You're like, fuck zebras. I've seen 1 million zebras. Zebras are a dime a dozen. That's kind of like that middle of the road client that can pay $5,000 all day long, and it's not going to kill them. And it's going to, they're going to get plenty of value. And there's like 10,000 of them out there. Right. But you know what I've never seen out on safari or anywhere in the world for that matter is a unicorn. I've never seen that one person that's willing to pay $1 million. I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure it exists. But if I spend my whole time looking for that one person that's going to pay $1 million for this something, I'm going to starve and probably die broke, right? And then also, if I'm out there trying to eat grass when I need to hunt zebras, I'm also going to starve. So I can't be chasing 1 million people for $1. Neither of those two work. So you got to be in that zebra zone, I call it, which is a black.
Brad, I never told you this before, but I love a good zebra metaphor.
Yes, sir.
And now you know.
I've got some penguin metaphors. I got some zebra metaphors.
Okay, so if we're like just starting off, and we're thinking, all right, I'm going to do a mastermind, I got to pick a price, and I'm just struggling with the price. Yeah. You know, I don't know if I should charge 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000.
Here's what I tell all my clients. Ready? Start at 500 for the beta, telling people, hey, this is a beta. I'm going to offer you your money back with 30 days if you don't think you're getting the value. And I'm normally going to charge 1,000 a month. That's what's going to be. So you're getting a discount. And I'm going to do everything it takes to make sure you get the value at $500. You're getting a discount. You're getting more access to me. You're getting more of my all than anybody will ever get in the future, because I'll have this dialed in and a proven thing in time. And I'm going to double the price when I do that. That's how you get people.
500 a month. 500 a month.
To start out.
Cool. All right. Talk to me about how to travel anywhere for free. You got my attention.
Yeah, man. So I'll tell a quick story. So do you know Michael Quinn?
No.
Okay. So Michael Quinn and his family are great people. I love the Quinns. Hello, if you're watching. And one day, Michael decides to take his whole family to Bali, and they spent 6 months out there building an Amazon business. This is years ago. And I meet Michael years later, maybe 3-4 years later, at an event by Jay Fazette, who's a Canadian entrepreneur. He's wonderful. He taught me a lot about masterminds. And we're at the VIP thing, the day before the event, and we're both at the snack table, and we just kind of like had this tractor beam attraction to each other. You ever meet somebody? It's just like, it wasn't a sexual thing, but it felt like a real attraction. Like, I got to talk to this person. So we start chatting and whatever, and we just hit it off right away. And it turns out Michael is making like $100,000 a month selling cat tunnels on the internet.
Cat tunnels. Of
Yeah,
course.
those little things that cats run through and they ring the bell at the end. Like that's what his business was at the time. I don't know what it looks like now, but I'm like, dude, you're making $100,000 a month selling cat tunnels? He's like, yeah. I'm like, how much do you work? He's like, 5-10 hours a week. I'm like, get the hell out of here. I'm doing something wrong here. I need to learn, tell me, teach me. He's like, yeah, sure. So my coaching's $30,000. So I'm like, all right, well, that's a big nut. Let me think about it. And I just got to thinking, I'm like, well, do you have people that want to learn this from you? He's like, yeah. And this is the demand curve again, right? He's like, well, are all of them willing to pay you $30,000? He's like, no, most of them won't pay that, right? It's too much. I'm like, is it worth it for you to make less than that to teach people this? He's like, probably not, honestly. I'm like, well, what if we had a bunch of people learn it from you at once and we build a mastermind around it and charge them less, but you still make your $30,000 or whatever? He's like, yeah, I could do that. I'm like, also, why don't we make it a cool trip where we all go to China and we can like go with you and learn how to source products and actually do it and be on the ground and teach people on the way up so that when they get there, they're ready to go and they can ask the questions and get their deals done. He's like, that sounds like a great idea. He's going to China and Youre and Hong Kong anyway. So we put it together. I went and sold all the spots. And in 2 weeks, I'd raised $35,000. And I got my trip paid for, and I made a little bit of money, and he made a bunch of money, and it all worked out. And then everybody got to learn. I got to travel for free. I got to go and actually build this business and had the connections and the resources and the opportunities all kind of come together. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, all right. I turned around and with 2 partners built an Amazon agency, which is still in business. I just sold my share and left. But we went from 0 to $75,000 a month in 6 months with what we learned partially from that trip. So that opened my eyes to the expertise I needed in order to be successful on Amazon and do success as well for my clients. So that was the value that I learned as a result. And I didn't end up having to come out of pocket anything. And we got to have a really great trip. So this was like 3 years ago. I don't know what his current state of his business is, but last time I checked, he's living on a boat, having a lot of fun. He's got a wonderful lady who I know well, Lauren, who, they're really happy together and life carries on. I don't know if he continued to do mastermind. It doesn't matter, but we had this really cool experience where we got to travel for free, help a lot of people, have a lot of fun, make a lot of money, and really enjoy ourselves. So that's one example of how you could travel for free. I've done it all over the world. I've done it in Bali, China, Greece, Hong Kong, Italy, all over the States. Like anytime I want to go somewhere and do a cool trip, I'll just put a mastermind around it.
Brilliant. Love it. As a matter of fact, I'm doing something very similar in Portugal in March. Got 17 amazing entrepreneurs. We're going to take 5 days in a beautiful mansion in Portugal, and it's going to fund my whole trip and then some. And for me, the core driving question has been, how do I go to cool places and come back with more money? That's sort of the broadest version of the question. My initial question was, how do I get paid?
I'm going to link this interview in the book, by the way, in the next version, because it's a really good explanation of all the things that people are asking. This is probably questions that other people have too. So thank you.
Oh, good. Yeah, my original founding question of my business was, how do I get paid to travel? And the answer wasn't the smartest answer. The answer was paid speaking engagements.
Yeah.
And, that's where they pay for your flight, your hotel, and you get a speaking fee. But it's not as expansive and creative as, how do I just create a lot of value and do it while traveling, which is what you are living out. Tell me about paid speaking engagements. Do you ever look for those? Does that even cross your mind, or is that not part of your game plan?
Yeah. So I don't know if we talked about this yet, but I was recently asked by Dean Graziosi to apply to be a speaker for Dean and Tony. And I'm like, Dean, I'm not a professional speaker, but whatever you need, I'm gonna be there to support. So I apply, and like 1,000 people apply or whatever. And I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get this spot, but I got in, and I got one of the 8 spots. So I'm one of the speakers for Tony and Dean now, and I'm gonna be promoting their KBB course. Part of my job is to help book stages. I've been doing that. We put 20 something stages in the pipeline this week. I got 30 more calls on my calendar this week. I'm bringing them affiliates. I'm getting them, I'm getting all my ducks in a row for this next big launch we're doing in February. So there's just a lot of stuff happening. And the way I look at speaking is a new opportunity to serve more people. And I've always been good at telling my story, but at the same time, when you get up on a stage and you have to project and you have to like really connect with that audience, it's a different animal. So I'm just learning as much as I possibly can with this incredible opportunity I've been given from the place of, I'm not so much worried about the money. That'll all come out in the wash. It's how can I impact? How can I add value? How can I share my story in a way which is simple yet elegant and enrolls people into the possibility of they can do this too? It's not about me at this stage of my career. I'm not interested in what I can do. I'm interested in how I can influence others to do more.
Brad, have you always had this mindset of, I'm not worried about the money, it'll all come out in the wash? Because you strike me as a spreadsheet reading, goal setting, money making machine. And have I misjudged? Like how do you think about making money in terms of these projects? Or is it just that you're at a phase in your life where money is just not that important as impact or fun?
No, and I don't want to give the wrong impression like I don't have to work for money. I do, but I work to produce value, which in turn leads to money. Money in and of itself is not a worthwhile goal because it's a result, and I can't control the result, but I can control the inputs. So if I want to make 100 grand in my business, I know I got to book 100 sales calls, and I can work the math on that and show you like the exact projections. We don't have time right now. So I'll just kind of tell you, like, I know I need to book 100 sales calls to make 100 grand in my business. It's a really simple formula that I have control over. That's not how many people show up. That's not how many offers I make. That's not how many people say yes. I just know that with certainty, if I book 100 sales calls, I'll make 100 grand. That means if I want to make $1 million a year, I got to book 1,000 sales calls. And then I work back to, okay, well, how much marketing do we have to do? How much do we have to spend? How many speaking engagements do I need to create? All the math comes from that number, because I have control over that number. I know how hard I got to push to get those numbers on the board. So when you think about that in your business, wherever you're at, it's just what are your inputs that you can control, and then make sure you're over engineering the system so that if you hit that many inputs, you'll get that many outputs.
Tell me your inputs and outputs on booking stages, because you mentioned right now you're working with Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, and you're booking stages, and you got 30 calls lined up, 20 stages in the pipeline. What are the numbers that you're looking at?
Sure.
In that sort of system?
Yeah. So with respect to AYR and Pete's team and everybody that has a proprietary system for this, I'll share in kind of generalities because I don't want to share anything proprietary without permission. But essentially the funnel looks like this. It's like we do outreach. I have help doing outreach. I get on a call with the person who's the meeting planner for that event. I gauge interest and whether there would be an opportunity there, whether it's worth having a longer conversation. and then I hand it off to their team. So I don't know how much control, like I don't know how many stages they're going to end up booking. I have some sense of what their past performance has been, and I can kind of gauge off of that. But honestly, I don't know yet. It's too early to tell. But I've just been doing everything I can, all the inputs I can control. I'm getting as many stages in the pipe as I possibly can. And I'm not worried so much about what's going to come out in the wash. I just know it'll end up leading the stages. And I also don't have an ego about it. Like we have a whole speaking team. So like some of these events, they're better for Tony and Dean to speak at. They're like 26,000 people. I'm not going to speak on that stage. It would be a waste at this stage of my career. I'd rather just, have a small bit of a big pie and just let him go do his thing. The man is the man for the reason,
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Well, don't try to outshine the master. I'm not going to be putting myself on that stage. Or if it's like a stage of veterans, I'm going to have my buddy Shane, who's incredible. He was a Marine and he worked on Obama's presidential detail. Like he's got a way better story for that audience than I do. I'm not going to get in front of that audience. If it's a mostly female crowd, we've got awesome female speakers. If it's a corporate crowd, we've got corporate people. Who I would want to speak to would be entrepreneurs and investors and people with that kind of business knowledge and background where they can relate to my story, or maybe people that, were alone at some point in their life. Or lonely, and they just really wanted to create community, because that's part of my story as well. You want to work with the stages that are relevant to the story and the expertise that you share, so that people will resonate with you, and the ultimate outcome is that they have an impact on their lives and they take action in the form of joining us on this mission to transform the state of education with kids.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about evaluating opportunities to sponsor a stage for stage time. You've got a $5,000 opportunity for 30 minutes. You got a $10,000 opportunity for 60 minutes. You got a $50,000
we only
opportunity.
do 45 and 60 minutes, so that's easy.
Okay.
For us. We have a keynote that's very high value with a soft pitch at the end. It's really dialed in. You got Tony and Dean come out and do the video and introduce me, and then we go and tell the story, and we walk through the 3 movements, and we do the pitch, and it's all really high value. People are going to be excited to hear from it. And also, whether they buy or not, they're going to come away with a lot of value. So that's exciting. And then they have a video at the end to close it down.
So you've got a solid dialed in keynote.
Yep.
Now, how do you evaluate? This place says, and I'll tell you a quick story, Brad. I was referred to this person who was doing a conference called the Ultimate Sales Summit. And you go to her website and it looks great. And all these speakers look wonderful. And I get on the phone with her. I'm very impressed. And she says, 30 minutes, 10,000, 60 minutes, 15,000. And I said, I'll take the 30 minutes. And she says, can you wire the money over? I'm in Canada. She's in the United States. And it's a little bit annoying for me to wire the money. So I just said, can I just pay by credit card? And you mind if I pay half now and I'll pay half later? So we agreed to that. Then I found out through someone else that she was just scamming. Like the whole thing was a scam. She was just like folding up shop and taking multiple 6 figures of speakers' money and just running. And I learned the hard way. I ended up getting the money back through the credit card, which is, I think, why she wanted me to wire the money instead of use a credit card.
Yeah. That's usually a red flag.
So I just found like
investment or something.
I was like, oh wow, I didn't even consider that possibility. So now as I evaluate these opportunities, I'm trying to build my own evaluation systems of how do I know which are the right ones to sponsor or not. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, and the honest answer is I don't know yet. I don't have enough data to really say that this is better than that. I'm just throwing a lot of stuff against the wall right now to see what sticks. But generally, I mean, if you know your metrics, you know how many people are in the room, you know what type of people are in the room, you know what your offer converts at roughly with that speaker on, that day, presuming you're in a good spot. And like, there's so many different negotiation points that I know nothing about, having not done this before. I can only postulate or theorize, whereas I'm in a blessed situation to be working with experts in this field that come from like the major speaker bureaus and do this all the time. And I get to just hand them off to them. So I'm honestly not the best person to answer these questions. I would say like a Pete Vargas or one of the people that work on his team would be a better person. And maybe we can set up a follow-up interview for something like that if that's something that they're open to. Again, I'm not unfortunately as versed in that side of the business as I need to be yet. But again, I'm learning as much as I can about speaking right now. That's what I'm focused on. And this is just kind of a bonus thing I do to help everybody, because we're drowning in opportunity right now. This company's massive. It's growing. We have 25,000 clients already the first year. And it's just like grab a shovel.
Wow. So let's talk about events for a minute. There's the 3-day event, the 2-day event, the 1-day event. What are some of the considerations you make that create a successful, high value event? And advice for people who maybe run their own events and want to do better in terms of revenue, in terms of attendees, in terms of quality of people, people just getting started. What advice would you have?
Yeah, so I think at that stage, when you want to optimize, make sure you charge a price that gets the right people in the door and pushes away the people that probably aren't the right people, right? So that's a different pricing situation for everybody and based on their audience and what they're selling. But that's the sweet spot you want to hit. So you want to make sure the right people are in the room. You want to make sure the speakers that are coming have a lot of value to deliver and there's not a lot of unknowns. You can go and take a bet on 1 or 2 speakers and just, who are more unproven, but you want to have like some anchor speakers that are really exciting. So, leveraging relationships to get those people in the room. And then finally, you just want to make sure that people have a combination of 3 things when they come to this place. When they're in your home or in a venue or whatever it is, it's 3 things. It's mindset, tactics, and implementation. Those are the 3 things people want and really need to be successful. Mindset, tactics, implementation. I learned this from Dean. That's why he's been so successful with KBV, is because those 3 things are relentlessly what they focus on. So they've got the mindset work with Tony. They give everybody the great mindset work. He's the best peak performance coach in the world. They get ultimate edge and all this great stuff. That's covered. They get tactics from Dean and, marketing tactics, sales tactics, how to do the actual thing. And then finally, they have an implementation tool, which they spend $1 million on, which is a specific software just for masterminds that they've created called MindMint, which allows you to plug and play and get your mastermind off the ground, your marketing funnel, your agenda, everything that you could possibly need in one shot. So that's how they do it. With your event, it might look like having great speakers, some inspirational, some tactical, cover those 2 points. And then it might be like breakout workshops to actually implement and get something done right now. Like some of the best events I've gone to, people made sales in the room and that got really exciting for everybody. I closed another client using this strategy I just learned today, and I made all my money back that I invested in this event and more. And that's the best testimonials, the best marketing you're going to get. So if you're going to create an event, that's what I would focus on: mindset, implementation, tactics.
Amazing. Thank you. KBB stands for?
The Knowledge Business Blueprint. So the traditional education system is broken. I think we can all agree on that. Well, what's going to replace it? We believe that masterminds are the best way to begin to replace it, because you can learn so much, as we've talked about, ad infinitum in this interview. You can learn so much in such a short amount of time from a professional doer in a mastermind setting versus a non-professional doer versus a professional teacher who is just getting paid to teach curriculum. And there's nothing against teachers. Teachers are wonderful. They've shaped the course of my life and they really care, a lot of them. But at the same time, like, people are voting with their dollars. It's the world is shifting and they're spending more and more and more money, $455 million a day currently. It's going to be $1 billion a day in 4 more years at this rate, on self-education through masterminds is a big way to do it.
Do you consider yourself a teacher, Brad Hart?
Yeah, I teach all the time. I'm always teaching. I'm teaching myself. I'm teaching others. I'm learning. I really focus on 3 things for my life. It's learning, it's leverage, and it's, I got it written down over here. Hold on. It's learning, leadership, and leverage. Learning, leadership, and leverage.
All right. Okay, we're coming up to the end of our time.
Anything else you want to say to our audience? Yeah, I'd love for you to continue the mastermind journey with me. I have 2 gifts for you. One is a free 21-day challenge on how to build your mastermind. You can go to buildamastermind.com/challenge. And then another is my book, which, by the way, I've given away a ton of copies as to friends. You got it there. It's on Amazon for $10. If you don't get the value, if you don't at least get $100 worth of value out of it, feel free to ask me for a refund. I don't care. Like, honestly, at the end of the day, I've made that offer to hundreds of people now and nobody's taken me up on it. Say one person who I think honestly is just in that scarcity mentality. But the vast majority of people are like, oh my God, it was a great book. I'm so happy I bought it. So please do buy the book, check it out, implement what I'm teaching, and you'll have a mastermind running in no time flat.
Beautiful. Buildamastermind.com/challenge for the free 21-day challenge. Thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom. It's always a pleasure connecting with you, Brad. And thank you, dear listener of the Expert Speaker Podcast. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the Expert Speaker Podcast. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and leave us a rating so that more people can discover the Expert Speaker Podcast and so more people can be empowered to share their message. Be sure to go to www.expertspeaker.com and take the masterclass to learn how to grow your business and make money speaking. It's totally free and will change your business. If you're ready to work with Expert Speaker, you can apply. Just go to expertspeaker.com/apply and someone from our team will be in touch with you to help you grow your business with public speaking. That's expertspeaker.com/apply. We'll see you in the next episode.